Every kid is born with the right to be loved. Every kid deserves a home and family. But that's not how it works in our world. There was a boy who was abandoned by his parents and then raised by his dreams. This is the true story of what happened to him. In a world where some people have too much and others don't have enough, there is no place for empathy. The story of Aarav, a young man from India, is one such example. Although Aarav never lacked for food or clothing, the kind of love and care that a child requires was absent in his childhood. He was unwanted. Aarav grew up in a very poor family. His father made ends meet by selling second-hand radios, while his mother struggled to make sure her children went to bed hungry. Aarav wasn't their favorite though. They barely even noticed him. One day, Aarav came home to find his house deserted. His father and mother had packed up and gone. He never even received a proper goodbye. He asked the neighbors if they knew something about his parents' disappearance. They told him that they had left him with his uncle. However, even his uncle didn't want him around, so he kicked him out of the house, too. Aarav was completely alone. At the tender age of 6, the boy understood that although he hadn't been born on a rainy night, he would carry a storm in his chest every single day. That was the day he decided he needed to take care of himself. It was just the beginning. As time passed, Aarav developed a fiery resolve to prove himself to his parents and everyone else who had ever doubted him. Despite facing rejection after rejection, Aarav never lost sight of his goal. At 10, Aarav began working at a welding shop in exchange for food and shelter. He loved watching the sparks fly from the metal, but hated the burns that covered his arms. The owner didn't mind that he couldn't read or write. In fact, he liked the fact that Aarav was quick to learn and eager to please. Whenever he had free time, he would pull out his battered books and read by the dim glow of the furnace. As years passed, he grew up strong and clever, but also bitter. Why had his parents given up on him? Why hadn't anyone offered him a chance at a good life? Why was he destined to live in poverty? Then, when he turned 13, Aarav decided to enroll himself in a night school. Unfortunately, the principal laughed at his worn-out uniform and sent him packing. Without any qualifications, he was unable to get a job. So he started attending vocational classes at the local community center. After graduating, he began repairing radios and TVs on the side. Even though his pay was low, it was honest work. And one day, a customer approached him with a peculiar request. She wanted him to modify her transistor radio so it would have better reception. To do this, Aaron would have to disassemble the radio and rewire it. Since he had nothing to lose, he took on the challenge. Once he was done, he gave the radio back to the woman, and she was thrilled with the results. She turned out to be a teacher at a local high school. Impressed by his skills, she recommended him to the vice principal, who hired him as a maintenance worker. Although it wasn't much, it was a start. One day, while walking home, Aaron spotted a group of kids playing with a kite. An idea popped into his head, and he rushed home to grab some scrap metal. With a few tools, he fashioned a windmill and attached it to a bicycle dynamo. When the wind caught the windmill, it generated electricity. Excited by his invention, Aaron continued tinkering. In no time, he created a small battery-powered fan. He rushed to show it to his teacher, who smiled knowingly. "Clever," she said, "but where will a child like you go with that?" Overwhelmed, Aaron realized that she was right. He was just a child, and he needed help if he wanted to succeed. His next invention was a crude alarm system for the school. He installed pressure pads outside the building and wired them to an old bell. It worked perfectly, and soon enough, the entire school knew who was behind it. The vice principal was impressed and offered him a scholarship to finish high school. During these years, Aaron faced many challenges. Hunger became his constant companion, and sometimes he had to wrap his notebook to his chest to keep warm at night. He failed his board exams twice, not because he wasn't smart, but because survival didn't leave room for study. Despite everything, Aaron kept trying. After finishing high school, he enrolled in a polytechnic college and graduated with honors. During this time, he met a professor who helped him secure a government job. Although the salary wasn't great, it was enough for Aaron to get by. One day, Aaron was working on a broken radio when a stranger walked in. He was an engineering professor from Delhi. He had heard rumors about the young man with a gift for electronics and had come to check it out for himself. "Where did you learn this?" he asked, astonished by the way Aaron fixed the radio. "I just see how things want to work," Aaron replied humbly. The professor thought for a moment. Then, without saying a word, he left. A week later, Aaron received a parcel. Inside was a box filled with used circuit boards and a letter that read, "When the world doesn't raise you, raise yourself with knowledge. I will teach you by post, if I must." That was the turning point in Aaron's life. Someone had taken an interest in him, and it changed everything. The professor began tutoring Aaron in secret, sending him books and paying for his advanced studies. Within a few years, Aaron earned a reputation for being the best engineer in his field. He was awarded several patents for his inventions. Although he never stepped into IIT, he built a solar-powered water filter that changed 30 villages. He also launched a non-profit called Forgotten Sparks to train abandoned teens in rural engineering. Today, Aaron lives in a small apartment just like he did when he was a child. He still eats on the floor and folds his shirts like the factory boys. But today, when he walks into schools to give talks, he sees young eyes that don't know him, yet feel like they've lived his story. Aaron never got adopted, but he raised himself with dreams that never abandoned him. If this story touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs one more reason to try again. Because sometimes hearing one story can keep another soul alive. This world will not always come back for you. Sometimes you are the rescue. Sometimes your dreams are the only family that stays. And the pain, it doesn't vanish. But it can transform into blueprints, books, and bridges. Do you have a friend who has overcome great hardship to achieve success? Share their story in the comments below. Your stories can inspire others to keep going.